How much would it cost to surgically repair this? And how would you treat an injury like this? Hi and welcome to my series on medical bills. My name is Dr. Maddie, one of your doctors from the UK. So far in this series we've looked at Spec versus Hanayama, Vegeta versus Goku, and today we're going to be looking at Doppo Orochi against Dorian. We'll be looking at scenes of them battling it out, racking up medical bills, and finally seeing who owes the most by the end of their face-to-face. And make sure to watch the end of the video because you never know who's going to end up owing the most. Otherwise, let us know who you want to see in next week's battle, and let's begin. Oh gosh, okay, so we start with Dorian taking a hit to the side of the head, which puts him at risk of having a concussion, with the brain knocking back and forth against the skull. Now, having a concussion doesn't necessarily mean that you need to see a doctor, so he won't have to put his hands into his pockets just yet. However, if he started with repeated vomiting, loss of consciousness, a worsening headache, then it's about time to pull out the checkbook and go and see a doctor. I love how Doppo's karate has an answer for every scenario. Why wasn't I taught these things when I did karate? But it looks like at worst he'll have some superficial burns or scalds that he'll just need to treat by running under cold water. Who's going to end up breaking this medical bills deadlock first? Oh god, what a way to hit things off with a full hand amputation. Fortunately for Doppo, it looks like the hand's been taken clean off, which will make it at least easier to reattach. And really, there's no point in performing an x-ray. What are we expecting? The absence of a hand? The best thing for Doppo to do is to put the hand on ice and try and find a microvascular surgeon who's going to reattach it. And really, he has between 6 to 12 hours to get this sorted, and you may be asking yourself at what cost? Well, he'd probably be looking in the region of $15,000. Funnily enough, for two hands, it's only $17,000. It must be a 2-for-1 discount.
You just gotta love it, don't you? The wonders of modern medicine.
Oh god, a bloody stump to the nose. What an absolute savage Doppo really is. I mean, it's not going to help with reattaching his hand, but it looks like in the process he's broken Dorian's nose. And we can clearly see in this still that his nose is in fact broken, it's deviated towards one side, and a good way of checking this is actually by getting you to lean your head back and looking at the alignment of the nasal septum. Now, he'd need an x-ray to confirm this fracture, and it comes in at a cost of $100. If he's brave enough, he might want to try to manually manipulate this himself, but depending on your level of experience, you might come out looking a little bit odd. For those who are a bit more squeamish, you're looking at a planned rhinoplasty coming in at a cost of $5,500.
Good evening, gentlemen Shogun. Gasoline wa osuki kana?
Oh god, well, as the saying goes, if you play with fire, you're gonna get burnt. But these burns are definitely worse than what we saw earlier with Doppo, as you can see that he's got blisters all around his body. Now, what this tells me as a doctor is that the burns are going to be a bit deeper, and we call these second-degree burns. And due to the large surface area that the burns are covering, he's really going to need to go to hospital, a burns hospital if possible. But this is going to come in at a heavy cost. In the US, for the management of burns like this, you're looking at around $15,000. Mind you, that does include a stay in the ICU, your medications, and any drips they might need to set up.
どうも。どうしたんすか？手。ああ、これ。
Oh god, and what a slide kick there. And I think I heard something crack. I think we're going to need to get him a chest x-ray at around $100, but otherwise I suspect he's bruised his diaphragm and possibly fractured some ribs, which we can only really manage with pain relief, rest, and maybe some milk.
He needs some milk!
Oh god, so he's gotten Dorian back here by taking off one of his ears with fish wire. Now, I put out a poll on my channel asking you guys which bill did you think would be more expensive, Doppo's hand amputation or this injury? And you overwhelmingly voted for Doppo's hand surgery. Believe it or not, you probably saw this coming, but reconstructive ear surgery in the US per ear comes in at a cost between $55,000 and $100,000. That is madness. I hope there's a 2-for-1 on this surgery as well. Oh god, that seems like a low blow there from Doppo. But then again, low blows in the Baki anime seem to be fair game. Now, worrying signs after a back injury, which might suggest spinal cord damage, include leg weakness, loss of controls of your bowels and waterworks, and something called saddle anesthesia, where it feels numb in the groin region. If any of these signs are present, the patient needs an urgent MRI scanner to make sure that the spine hasn't been damaged, and this comes in at a cost of around $6,000. Better paying that than being paralysed for life. Regurgitation of a grenade. Bloody hell, who would think to swallow one of these? It kind of makes you think, what else is down there? But also, this is pretty dangerous as the stomach contains pretty strong acid. Now, if you're dubious about this, just look at the impact this acid has on your teeth over time. Also, I hope Dorian's got some money down there to help pay for all these medical bills. But back to everyone else in the room, an explosion at close range like this as a minimum would cause rupture of your eardrums, and surgery to help correct this comes in at a region of around $6,000. So we see that Doppo has had his hand surgery, and apparently his hand is stronger than before. Now, it's true that bones repair themselves really well, and in fact they can actually come back stronger than before. However, the same can't be said for nerves. These often take longer to recover, and in some cases don't fully recover back to what they once were. Those that do really well are those that comply and stick to the physiotherapy and rehabilitation exercises from the start. But also, it looks like Doppo wanted to celebrate having his hand back by breaking Dorian's nose again. I hope he's got a warranty on that operation. Oh god, so that punch looks to have revealed more of Dorian's concealed weapons. I'm assuming that Doppo's punch causes significant pressure on the stomach to effectively reverse peristalsis, leading Dorian to vomit up this bottle. But can you imagine the amount of prep work that Dorian does in anticipation of any fight? How does he choose what he swallows before a fight? Oh, what a sidestep by Doppo, and then Dorian takes a punch straight to the jaw. Now, the jawbone is at its weakest where it connects to the skull, the exact point that Doppo has just hit. So, you guessed it, Dorian's going to need a jaw x-ray, and if there is a fracture, he's likely going to need plate and screw fixation to fix this. Now, this comes in at a jaw-dropping $8,000.
無理だ。所詮君らでは。
Okay, this isn't much of an injury, but it's a very common presentation with people coming through with a foreign body in their eye. Now, I must see 1 or 2 patients a day who've either got a splinter in their eye or an iron filing. And I'm quite happy to manage this in the clinic just by removing the foreign body with a Q-tip. But we also need to put some dye into the eye to make sure you haven't damaged your cornea. Now, in the UK, I'd do this for free, but you guessed it, in the US, you'd be charged $100. Now, this is something I find just disgusting because the small bottle you use contains 1 ml of the solution. This makes this one of the most expensive liquids on the market.
何やってんだよ親父親父しっかりしろ親父
聞こえぬさたとえ耳元で叫んでもミスター・オロチは戦っているのさ
So this is really interesting. Somehow Dorian has caused Doppo to hallucinate a fight in which he is winning. But is there any science behind this? Well, yes, there are multiple reasons that people can have visual hallucinations, and these range from things like infection to side effects of medication or even recreational drug use. And it can happen to anyone. Even more interesting is that there's a medical condition called Charles-Bonnet syndrome in which people who have chronic visual loss can actually have full-blown hallucinations of people all around them. And this is as a result of the brain trying to make sense of the visual stimuli they are receiving. Now, I mention this because Doppo only has 1 eye, and then the other eye has just had a foreign body blown into it. Could this be a contributing factor to him having hallucinations?
But that's simply not possible.
Why isn't it possible?
It's just not.
Why not, you stupid bastard?
生きなさい終わりの来ない夢の世界へ
Of course, Doppo's just such an awesome karate master that he's able to overcome this hallucination process with willpower and training alone. I forget that he's fought Yojiro Hanma in the past and lived to tell the tale.
それが戦いなのだ決めちまうぜこりゃ
Oh, so with a kick to the neck like that, I think we ought to extend the MRI of his back all the way up to cover his neck as well, and that's going to come in at a further cost of $5,000. But also, it looks like he's going to need further reconstructive surgery on that other ear, because it looks like that's hanging on by a thread. Now, I don't think this surgery is going to be as extensive a reconstruction as his other one, so we're only going to charge him for the stitch work, and that's going to come in at a cost of $250.
君ならあるいは君ならあるいは夢を叶えてくれるので
Oh gosh, that's just nasty, with those fingers being completely obliterated. So of course he's going to need some x-rays, and then he's probably going to need open surgery involving wires, plates and screws to hold this all back together. It really looks like an injury for Doctor Strange. So let's update his bills. This comes in at a cost of $12,000. Maybe you can ask Doppo if he knows someone who can help.
弱気じゃねえか空手一筋に生きちまったおいらによ
Oh god, that's just made things so much worse. I think he actually fractured his wrist as well. And at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they go ahead and do a full amputation. But for now, we'll charge him for the x-rays and we'll see what happens as the fight progresses. Fingers crossed, Dorian. Oh goodness, there is nothing left of Dorian's chest wall now, leaving his internal organs, those being the heart and the lungs, fully exposed. And really, this is a very serious injury, with each fractured bone posing a potential threat for puncturing the underlying lung and causing a pneumothorax. Let's get him an x-ray just to make sure this hasn't occurred. If it has, however, occurred, he'll need a chest drain, which will come in at a breathtaking $6,000. Oh, now that is just brutal. He's completely destroyed both of his knees here, and I doubt he's going to be able to stand unsupported. So he'll definitely need some x-rays, but then he's going to need surgery to completely resurface those joints to allow him to even walk again. At this point, Dorian's probably thinking he would have been better off staying in prison. Anyway, that surgery is going to cost him $40,000 per knee. Really, I think the Baki characters keep hospitals in business.
やっと手に入れた珠玉の聖剣好き。
私が恐れている。
Okay, so the fear of death and defeat at the hands of Doppo has caused Dorian to have a full mental breakdown. As a result, I think he's going to need to go into a mental health hospital under suicide watch, and that's going to come in at a cost of around $6,000 a night. Who knows how long he needs in there? Let's give him a week to be safe.
なんだこれは。小型の爆弾のようにも見える。これで爆発するわけか。
And of course, Dorian has one further trick up his sleeve in the form of a bomb implanted in his wrist. But I guess you'd expect that if he detonated this bomb that it would blow off his hand as well, leading him to bleed to death. And just as a minor detail, we see here that his other hand has been amputated. I guess sometimes you've got to cut your losses. That would have come in at a cost of around $20,000.
帰ったぞ。
Oh, okay, so it finally looks like Dorian has got his payback against Doppo with blowing his face off. Now, with the underlying damage to Doppo's face, he no longer has any skin covering the muscles, so I think he'd actually be a candidate for something like a face transplant. And this is where things get unbelievable, with a face transplant costing him $350,000, whereas the cost of Dorian's other hand coming in at around $20,000, maybe even less, as he's already half blown it off.
よかった。私こそが敗北者だったのだ。勝利に彩られていたはずのこの人生が、その実、暗黒に満ち。
Okay, so this punch was somehow strong enough to damage Dorian's brain, causing him to regress to the age of a child. Now, I can't say I've ever seen an injury like this, but theoretically, if you were to damage the frontal lobe of the brain, this can often cause people to have a complete personality change. Normally, however, this causes people to be more irritable, aggressive, or impulsive. I've never heard of it regressing someone back to being the age of a child. And it's with this final injury that I have noticed a loophole for Dorian. Now he's effectively mentally disabled, he'll be able to claim disability benefits in America, and this can be up to $3,000 a month. So that's $36,000 a year, effectively allowing him to pay off all of his medical bills within 7 years. Meaning that Doppo in fact has the highest medical bill in this series so far. Well played, Dorian. So in the end there, we had a bit of a plot twist with Doppo coming out wanting. Once again, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to let us know down below in the comments who you want to see in next week's battle. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.